Tell me a little bit about what you do.
So I run a company called Ryerson Futures and Zone Startups, where we run corporate accelerator programs and invest in early stage technology. So we have programs, 3 programs in Canada, 5 in India, and we're launching one in Vietnam this summer.
Tell me a little bit about the startup scene in Canada. We are experiencing a moment right now. Can you dive into that a little further?
Sure. Yeah, it's booming. There's lots of great talent and lots of great early stage ideas and companies that are growing and scaling, and we play a small part of helping some of those companies. But it's been great to see. I think after Nortel blowing up and RIM blowing up, that there's been a ton of people that have jumped into the early stage ecosystem and built new companies, which is fantastic. And we have Shopify and lots of new companies that are coming and growing and scaling very, very quickly, and that's important for the Canadian economy. And it's obviously a huge job creator. And it's some really interesting tech that's helping companies become more efficient and effective.
We've seen a bit of a brain drain in Canada as far as computer scientists, many people leaving and going south of the border. We've experienced this for a while, but what do you think it's going to take to get companies not just to start here, but to stay here?
Well, I don't think you'll ever get companies to just stay here permanently because it's a small market, right? We run programs in India, and 1.5 cities in India is bigger than Canada in total. So I think we have to get better at being able to export our ideas and solutions. Sales and marketing can be wherever it needs to be, but operations and the core team can stay in Toronto. If you look back probably 20 years ago when venture capitalists invested in companies here, they'd want the whole company to move close to wherever they were. Whereas now they want the team and the technology to stay in Canada, and sales and marketing can go wherever it needs to be. So that's important for the Canadian economy.
What about your experience at Northeastern? What did you learn there that is helping you in your current role?
I had a great experience at Northeastern. I originally went on an athletic scholarship and did an undergrad in marketing and management, and then ended up going back and getting a job in the finance office and doing an MBA. The MBA was really helpful. After I left there, I went into consulting for a few years and then did a startup that I took public, so it was very helpful understanding a lot of the things that I learned through the MBA program. And Boston's a fantastic city. I had a ton of fun while I was there.
One of the things that people love about Northeastern is the flexibility. Many people coming back to school doing their MBAs or other programs. Can you talk a little bit about how that flexibility will help to nurture workers here today to allow them to be more educated even when they have an existing job?
Yeah, when I did my MBA, I actually had a near full-time job, so I took a lot of courses at night, which I thought were fantastic because they brought in professors that had, during the day they were executives at AT&T or other big companies and were coming in and talking about their real-life experience, because it's a lot of casework, so it was real relevant casework, which was very important to understand and learn about, and I thought that was hugely helpful.
How important do you think education is today, particularly when we're talking about the startup scene?
I think it's important to get a good, strong base and learn how to learn. So that is the number one thing. I mean, I have kids that in a few years hopefully will be going to university, so we're having that conversation at the dinner room table now. But just to learn how to work in teams, the discipline, the focus, I think that's very, very important and something that all kids should do. And Canada has a great education system, and Northeastern's adding to that, which is fantastic.
What would you say to people who are considering Northeastern as an option?
Well, in my experience, it was excellent. I'd highly recommend it. I think it's a great school and great people, and I thoroughly enjoyed it.
As someone who has an inside look at the technology scene in Canada, where do you see things going?
Well, I think you're going to see more and more people entering the startup ecosystem, because today to build technology is relatively cheap with the cloud-based solutions. And what we're seeing and what we typically invest in and work with are individuals that have worked in companies for 5, 10, 15 years, noticed a problem, left to build a solution that solves that problem. And in our experience, those are really good companies to back and good individuals to back, because they have some industry experience and an understanding of that particular market, which is very important.
What is it like in terms of expanding beyond Canada? You talked about having a presence in India, also going into other markets. Why is that important today?
Well, I think having a global understanding and being able to sell, as I said, outside Canada, it's a great market, but it's a very small market, right? And we're typically very focused, as all our portfolio companies are, on selling just south of the border to the US, which is great. But as you establish traction there, I think there's lots of other markets to go to, and you want to go where the growth is as well. If you look at economies like India, it's growing much, much faster than North America is, and it's, although a difficult market, once you're in there and tapped into that market, it can be very, very lucrative down the road, same as China and other places.
As someone who gets a chance to look at some incredible startups and meet some amazing founders, what do you think it is in those founders that are the most successful? Is there one particular trait that you're able to identify in them?
I don't know if it's one, but they're very hardworking, disciplined, and passionate people. Those are some key ingredients in order to be successful, and we see that across many of the founders that we've backed.